Hello everyone and welcome to round 3 Chinese Grand Prix Formula 1 and shorter video this time perhaps. Quickly review over round 2 Malaysia. I went for a sensible selection, I think. I went on form, I went on behind the scenes news, I went on gut instinct, I went on sensible things. And all that sort of came to nothing because of the rain. Alonso superbly driven to victory, Ferrari back at the top, however temporarily, and Perez a surprise in second. So really the predictions of last time, which were Vettel and Hamilton at the top, didn't quite happen like that, although I did get Hamilton on pole, so that's saying something, I suppose. Whilst it was dry, the form was pretty much correct, and I think if the grid had stayed the same, I'd have done pretty well. So yeah, I had the top 3 teams up there. I didn't have Perez anywhere, but I don't think anybody would really have predicted that in a million years. So this week for China, I've gone for a fairly similar layout of predictions, because I think that although there is a chance of rain and weather manipulating things, it's less so, and I think true form will come to the fore, and I don't think we'll see so many surprises. So what I've gone for, bearing in mind that Hamilton probably does have a 5-place grid penalty due to a gearbox change. Is he still going to get pole position? I don't think so. I think that psychologically, knowing that you've got a grid penalty hinders your ultimate qualifying pace. And ordinarily, I think Hamilton may have got pole, so I think he'll miss out and probably get second and then line up 6th. And in that case, then I think the next best really is going to be Vettel. Perhaps angry from 3 weeks ago in Malaysia, but we know how good he is in qualifying, and even if the Red Bull isn't the fastest car in a straight line, I think he'll pull something really good out of the bag. And so I'm going Vettel pole, and I think I don't think Webber will be too far behind. He's beaten him a couple of times in the qualifying so far this year. He's looked pretty good, although in the race it's been less the case. I think Hamilton, despite the penalty, I think he'll be quick. I think the McLarens will have decent pace, good straight line speed, which is important in China, and I think Hamilton will have a lot to prove. And I think he'll drive it past Jensen, and I think Hamilton will finish on the podium in 3rd place, from where he'll inevitably start on the grid, which is no higher than about 6th. Then I think it's a big ask unless there's wet weather to get better than that, but he's had a good run this year, consistency and another podium, and I think he might settle for that if we were to give him that now. Yeah, strong McLaren lineup. Jensen solid 4th. It's the kind of result I think he'll be looking for objectively after the no points finish 3 weeks ago. Definitely didn't look completely convincing in practice. 5th, Rosberg finally gets some points on the board, finally finish. I think Rosberg has a chance at pole position given the Mercedes blatant straight line speed. Looks very impressive, and Michael was able to get fastest in second practice, but not completely convinced. Maybe they'll fluff up the qualifying laps again, and the reliability is still a big issue with the Mercedes. But what the package they have seems to be suited for China, so it's really an important weekend for them to get decent points and get away from the bottom of the table, but I don't see them getting anything better than 5th. Yeah, I've gone for Alonso, 6th, strong run in the championship so far, 35 points leading the way, excellent to see as a fan. A race which you can't read too much into. It was very different conditions from the norm, and the car is fundamentally quite a way off the pace still. Despite their inevitable upgrades, I don't think they'll have done so much. But such as Alonso, I think he'll go again well there. I think he'll get some good solid points. If he isn't sixth, he'll probably still be in the top 10. But as for Massa, I don't see him in the top 10. He looked again awkward at practice, and for qualifying he'll probably get Q2 probably. So yeah, shame about Massa at the moment, but until something big changes, I don't see it improving anytime soon. Schumacher 7th. I think this is the race where Rosberg finally beats Michael. I think they'll be pretty close in qualifying, but over ultimate race distance, yeah, I think that'll be close overall. It might be a strategy decision in it. Possible reliability issues again, otherwise I'd have them higher, but I think that's a pretty sensible prediction. Okay, so this is where I've decided to change my mind on form. I'm finally reading the results and I'm thinking, right, okay, Williams, they're looking stronger, definitely. They've proved it over a couple of races, and yeah, third race, I think Williams will still be strong. I've gone for Maldonado to finally pick up some points, 8th place. Genuinely seems to be a decent package. I don't know quite where its strength lies, but a couple of hot relative rookies in the car, but got a lot to prove, and it seems to be healthy competition so far. And he's been unlucky not to score a point so far, and I think this is where he'll do it if form comes into play. I've gone for Raikkonen 9th, and so far getting all the points for Lotus Renault. I'm reluctant to put him too much higher than 9th because in practice they just didn't look that special. I overheard the team mechanic guy say words to the effect of we're really not on top of the setup, and I've still got a lot of work to do. So actually I think this might not be their track. Certainly it's about straight line speed, and maybe their chassis is just not cut out for it. Raikkonen being Raikkonen, I think he'll do a good solid job, and maybe through retirements he will finish even higher up, but a couple more points, 9th. I see him beating Grosjean again, so rounding out the points. Finally, yeah, I've gone for Di Resta. Force India doesn't seem to be a particularly overwhelmingly good car. It seems to be reasonably solid in so much that certainly in Paul Di Resta's hands it finishes races, and that was important in Malaysia. I think he will just keep going round. I don't think he'll qualify in a particularly high place. I just think if there's any rate of attrition, then he rather than Hulkenberg might be the guy to snatch the last point. I've gone for Hamilton to get the fastest lap. Reason being, although he isn't historically known for fastest laps, the McLaren's fast this year. I think with the grid penalty, his mental state will be, right, I've got to catch these guys up, and I think he might even be on a slightly different strategy, and I'm sure inevitably he'll find a clean piece of track at some point and be angry enough to set the fastest lap of the race. Seems fairly likely outcome, I think. And these are more or less the same kind of predictions I had for Malaysia, but it was very much derailed under the rain. I've not got these Saubers up there. They looked a little bit shaky in practice, but it was slightly damp, so I don't know quite how much I can read into that. No doubt Sauber are on I'm sure their motivation is high, but I think they'll come back down to earth and be back in sort of 12th through 15th kind of place. I'm sure Perez will do quite well, but there will be a bit of pressure on him, and all eyes are going to be focused on his driving. So I don't think he'll stand out too much actually, and so I haven't really gone down for any points. But across the season, I'm sure he is actually quite likely to impress again. But those are my predictions then. In terms of news surrounding everything, weather could be rain, not particularly ideal practice conditions. The Ferrari has a few upgrades. Vettel's still not happy with the Red Bull, but I think part of that is not only a couple of less than ideal results, but also preference from Mark Webber, and he knows he hasn't quite got the ability to dominate as he did before, possibly psychological with him. The Sauber's looking good for sponsorship in the near future, but and also the Lotus Ferrari team have in the past week or so lodged a complaint with the FIA against the Mercedes rear wing new F-duct style functioning bit of technology at the back of that car. That's since been sort of thrown out and overruled, and so that could have been, and probably might not be over, but that could have potentially been sort of annoying as far as disallowing points and banning cars and penalties and redesigning stuff. There are rumours in the air of Mercedes pulling out of F1 in the near future, having not signed the agreement for the Concorde, and also there's a lot of pressure on the shareholders board due to a lack of results over the last 2.5 years, and it'd be a shame to lose them from the grid, so I'd actually quite like them to do well. Beyond that, being a Michael Schumacher fan, I'd like him to have success in the car too. And finally, Bahrain is just over a week away, and so far they've said it's in doubt, it's in doubt, it's in doubt, but all Bernie Ecclestone, the big man at the top of F1, all he has said is it's definitely going ahead, everybody calm down. So still not over that story, I don't quite know. Personally, I want another race on the calendar, and I don't really look beyond that. 20 races to me just sounds better than 19. If it's going to be cancelled again, just get it off the calendar altogether for next year, because it really isn't a particularly interesting Grand Prix historically, and it'll save a hell of a lot of faff if just get rid of it. It's not a great track, it's too long, it's almost 2 minutes, it's in the desert, no one spectates there, not a particularly interesting Grand Prix, and that might save a lot of time and effort, but in that case I may or may not be back next week, depending entirely on whether they have the Grand Prix, but then after that there'll be a break of I think 3 weeks until I think maybe Barcelona, so we'll see how my predictions go. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.